In this video, we're going to explore the different types of training that may be undertaken by an employee. These include on and off-the-job training, along with induction training. We will look at each one of these in detail and analyse the advantages and disadvantages of each. As a reminder, training is a range of activities that give employees work-related skills and knowledge, with the aim of making them better at their jobs. There are different types of training that you need to be aware of. There's induction training, when a new worker starts employment with the organisation. On-the-job training, this type of training, as the name suggests, is carried out at the workplace and is conducted by an employee from within the business. And then there's off-the-job training, which surprisingly is carried out away from the normal workplace, perhaps with an external specialist, maybe at a college or a university. To all the teachers out there, show all of these videos without any ads and gain access to our growing library of over 500 teaching worksheets. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? It's important to remember that training is not just necessary for new members of staff. Even when employees are more experienced, they may need to update their skills or learn new skills to adapt to how the business is looking to operate in the future. Before we go any further though, let's introduce this video's main example. This is Amy Wilson, who is the new apprentice for Piper's Plumbers, a popular plumbing company with over 20 members of staff covering the whole of the southwest of England. An apprenticeship is a type of employment contract where you learn how to do a specific job and have specific training in the skills needed for that job. This is very popular with trades, such as building, plumbing, and electrics. As an apprentice, you learn while working and get hands-on experience, as well as studying for at least 20% of your working time. Normally, this is done at a college or with a training provider. An apprentice will complete assessments during and at the end of their apprenticeship, which can take between 1 and 6 years to complete, depending on the industry that they're in. On Amy's first day, she has a meeting with her new manager, Peter Piper. He explains that she will be going to the local College of Further Education every Friday to work towards her diploma in plumbing and domestic heating. Pete will also act as Amy's mentor and will be showing her the ropes. She'll be going out in the van with Peter, visiting customers' houses and dealing with real-life plumbing jobs. Amy is really excited as she's always been very practical and has wanted to learn a job such as plumbing for a very long time. Bring this video and over 100 more to life with fun, interactive games, quizzes and case studies. Why not try the first 25 completely free by visiting BizzWizard.co.uk. The rest of Amy's first day is spent on her induction training. Induction training sounds a little like introduction training, is used for employees who are new to an organisation, just like Amy. It is meant to help them settle into their new role, so it includes areas such as familiarising them with the company's policies and working practices, for example, health and safety procedure. It's also a good way of familiarising them with their new colleagues, so part of induction training might involve working alongside their manager, meeting their colleagues and any subordinates that they may have. They will also meet key people from other departments or functions to get a better understanding of how everything works and how everything fits together. During her induction training, Peter introduces Amy to the rest of her colleagues and shows her around the workplace. He makes sure she has a good understanding of the company's health and safety policies and provides her with her safety boots, goggles and protective gloves to wear while she's working. On Amy's second day, she goes out with Peter in the van to deal with a dripping tap. This is considered as on-the-job training, which always happens at the place of work, inside the organisation. In our case, at Piper's Plumbers, the households of their customers. On-the-job training is usually carried out by a more experienced person, or a mentor, someone that a trainee can turn to for support and ask questions. This form of training is a great opportunity to learn from someone inside the organisation who already has the skills and can pass them on to you. Work shadowing is a good example of on-the-job training. This is where a worker spends time working alongside a more experienced colleague, observing what they do and learning from them. Each of the video courses over at BizzWizard.co.uk also includes an interactive business case study that applies the knowledge learnt to a real-world scenario. There are over 1,000 multiple-choice questions, each with detailed feedback, which tests students' understanding of the content. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? On Friday, it's Amy's first day at college, and she gets to meet her fellow students on the plumbing course. They all talk about their first week in their new jobs and what sort of training they've had. These classes would be considered to be off-the-job training, which takes place away from the employee's usual place of work. This means they are not actually working while they're receiving their training, and they may be able to focus more clearly on absorbing the contents of the training. Examples of off-the-job training include studying for a qualification, going to college, or attending conferences and seminars hosted by external providers. They are a good opportunity to learn new skills and gain different experience, which the employee can then bring back to their workplace and put into practice. For Amy, the combination of on-the-job training, going out with Peter and learning hands-on from an experienced plumber, and off-the-job training, going to college to learn the theory away from the day-to-day pressure of work, is the perfect combination. For the bosses at Piper's Plumbing, it's a good balance between training their staff to do things the Piper's way, on the job, and learning skills at college away from the distractions of the day-to-day role. Pipers benefit from having a well-trained member of staff with a good range of practical experience, and they are seen as a good place to work. Staff morale is high, and employees tend to stay with them for a long time as they know that they will be supported in their career progression. So, let's do a little analysis on the advantages and disadvantages of both on-the-job and off-the-job training. Let's start with the advantages of on-the-job training. This type of training is generally much cheaper than off-the-job training. The business isn't having to pay for the cost of an external trainer or a training company, and it also doesn't have to pay the costs of travel, or maybe even accommodation. This is one of the main reasons that on-the-job training is very popular with businesses. This means that there is less risk to the business. Even if the standard of training isn't particularly high, business hasn't actually lost much. On-the-job training also has the advantage of being very hands-on and practical. You're actually doing the work while you're being trained. Even though it may be very slow at first, the idea is that you get faster with experience. Examples could be a factory worker being shown how to use machinery on a production line, a sales assistant being trained in how to use the tills, or a trainee computer programmer learning new coding skills on the job. And on-the-job training also has the advantage that it can be a good way to build working relationships. By working closely alongside a manager, a colleague, a mentor, or someone from a different business area, this can help to improve communication across the business, and therefore improve productivity. However, there are a number of potential disadvantages to on-the-job training. The quality of training received may be limited due to the trainer's ability. It depends on how good they are at both doing the job and on their ability as a trainer. Not everyone who is good at doing something is good at clearly explaining it to other people. The trainer may end up passing on bad practice, for example taking shortcuts because it makes things easier, but it's a lower quality product or service. The quality and the amount of training can depend on how much time the person delivering the training actually has to spare. After all, they have their own job and they're pretty busy. If the trainer is pushed for time, they may end up delivering lower quality training. Also, the more time spent on training, the less productive the trainer actually is. And time spent on training can cause friction with other members of the team, who may end up having to pick up extra work so that this training can even take place. Now, let's look at some of the advantages of off-the-job training. Off-the-job training is much more focused. The trainer is fully focused on training you, and you're not distracted by the day-to-day work. Neither is the trainer. The person delivering the training should be an expert, both in the subject they are training you on and they are also experienced and skilled in delivering training. That's what they do for a living. This means the quality of the training is likely to be much higher. And as well as not having the distractions of being in your usual workplace while being trained, off-the-job training gives you time and space to pick up new skills without being under pressure to be productive, meaning you can take the time needed to fully take on board and grasp the things that you've learned. However, unsurprisingly, there are also potential disadvantages to off-the-job training. Off-the-job training is usually expensive. It's not run in-house, so the company has to pay the costs of a trainer, but also other costs, such as food, accommodation, or travel. As the person being trained is away from their workplace, they're not doing their job, and they're not actually being productive. In some circumstances, temporary staff cover may be needed to cover the trainee's day-to-day job, particularly if the training course takes place over a long period of time. A lot of off-the-job training also isn't tailored to one specific business. For example, most IT training is aimed at any business, not your specific business. If off-the-job training is tailored specifically to your business, it will be much more expensive. If, for example, you ran a video game production company, the software used is specific to you, and off-the-job training is unlikely to be efficient. So now we should have developed a strong understanding of the different types of training. If you get an exam question on this topic, it's important to analyse the advantages and the disadvantages of each type of training, but specifically for the business detailed in the case study. Remember, businesses will have different reasons for training. Some will want to boost productivity, improve quality or customer service, or adapt to new technology or working practices. So there's unlikely to be a one-size-fits-all option when it comes to training. Good quality training is extremely important, and it can increase productivity, improve motivation, and lead to better staff retention. But be careful, it comes at a cost, and poor quality training is simply a waste of your hard-earned money. This has been the BizzWizard. See you in the next video.